Okay, everybody, this is going to be quite a serious video today. I think it's took me a long time to really come to terms and really truly accept that I think a lot of the people that I thought were friends or people that I could kind of I think the perception of people that I had in my head, I think over time it's become apparent that that's wrong. And that you just over time you realize that people can be very disappointing. And people can be very unreliable, not very trustworthy. And over time people can become, to be quite honest, very different people actually to the people that you knew or people that you thought you knew. I've always had this kind of like part of me that's like you never really truly fully really know anybody. Like I've never really truly, I don't know if I've ever really truly known anybody really, and I don't think anybody's ever really thoroughly got a grasp of who I am as a person either. But they certainly thought they had. And so this video isn't. I mean, it's based on actually some very specific people that I've had some rather unpleasant revelations. Let's say that about over the last few years of my life. Just coming to realise that unfortunately, and of course this doesn't apply to everybody, but unfortunately a good portion of people, not all, but a good portion of them are fake. And they will say and do whatever they need to say and do to, well, whatever it is that's needed to. I mean, there's a whole host of things, isn't there? Boost their ego, boost their sense of status. Make more money. Get a promotion. Paint you out to be something that you're not for their own gain, whatever it might be. I just think over time people just kind of weigh down, and I think as you get older you start to kind of realise that you just don't know who you can trust really. You don't, and you just kind of you get to a point where you don't really know whether you want to trust anybody ever again. And I don't just mean in friendships, I mean in relationships, even with your own family sometimes. Trying to build relationships with people again, and it's all a bit kind of. You see, I think people sometimes in the past, I think people have rubbed me up the wrong way. That I think people have sometimes thought that I was very doom and gloom, and that's not. It's not accurate at all. I'm a complicated person like just as anybody else, but it's easy to stick labels on people, isn't it, rather than actually be honest and say that, you know, people's lives are tricky, people's situations are tricky, and so in that regard, I do understand why some people are fake and pretentious and put on a front, and why people would rather just not deal with things in a direct manner. But I find it infuriating because, and this is, I think it's because I do like, if I can, to try and be honest and direct and real with people, because it just saves you a lot of problems later down the line. But unfortunately, in the world that we live in, and certainly in my country, in England, probably pretty much the UK in general, really, but certainly in England, where there is an emphasis of being indirect and kind of, you know, you sort of, there's this thing of like keeping things light and fluffy, and, you know, maintaining small talk, and, you know, not really delving into anything, you know, anything too deep or personal or anything. I just always found that to be, look, I'm not saying that there isn't a place for small talk, and that, you know, there's of course, you know, it wouldn't be, you know, it wouldn't be sensible to have serious deep discussions with people all the time, but that's just a part of my personality that I kind of prefer to. I mean, not all the time, of course. Like, sometimes I don't really want to talk at all, actually, with people. But, you know, sometimes you meet people, and I always find it's always a clash of personalities. It's always a thing of, you know, people want things to be their way. I want things to be my way, and I don't know. I just felt that I've always tried to compromise with people, and like certain, not everybody, but some people just weren't willing to compromise with me, and this conversation's gone all over the place. I don't know. I just kind of feel a bit. I feel a bit kind of disappointed in people these days, I think, more than I used to be. Because people just lie to you all the time, and they think that they're so, you know, the people just think they're so cunning and clever that you don't see it, like you don't know what they're doing. Like, it's like, even though it's bleedingly obvious what's going on. Maybe not all the time, you know, I'm not always right, but a lot of the time I'm right about things. And, you know, sometimes I just get sneaking suspicions with people, that people are up to stuff and playing games and not being truly honest, and not really being themselves, just kind of the putting on an act kind of thing, and especially when other people are around, and I just always found that it's always a thing of, in any given group, that there's always, you know, the one that's sort of steering everybody else, and everyone else is kind of like, to some extent, you know, being directed in that group's conversation, and people essentially kind of sort of like lose the personalities, as it were. And I think, really, honestly, I think that's kind of partly why I kind of prefer not to be around too many people, because I just find people insufferable. I find people a lot, not everybody. I've met some, obviously, like most people, I've met a handful of nice people along the way in life. You know, look, nobody's perfect. Everyone's got issues. Everyone's trying to make the best of life, the best, I guess, that they can. And life gets complicated the older you get. And when you start throwing the family into the mixture, and, you know, people's life situations are getting complicated because of work, or, you know, parents dying, or parents, you know, getting old, and whatever the case may be, business problems, work problems, financial stresses and so forth. You know, life can get messy real quick for a lot of people, and it tends to happen, I think, once you start getting towards your late 20s, early 30s, when you start establishing families and stuff like that. You start getting bogged down and kind of start finding yourself being, you didn't realise, but you was kind of, you got yourself into a trap. You didn't think things through quite enough, and before you know it, bitterness, resentment, regret start seeping to the surface, and people just become a hot mess, and I'm no exception to that. So, and this isn't just me projecting, this is me observing my own problems and observing other people as well, and just realising that they're just as fucked up as I am, probably, but in different ways. None of us are getting out of here alive. None of us are, we've all got skeletons in our closets, kind of thing. It's like we're all just a fucking mess, quite frankly. Society's a mess, culture's a mess, and I just think these days, honestly, I don't like to swear, but I just don't really give two fucks about a lot of shit anymore. And I don't really give two fucks about a lot of people anymore. And they know who they are. It's just a kind of like just a wash of. Sometimes I just get this sort of like overwhelming like wash of just utter despair and disappointment with my species, and just I don't know. Sometimes I just kind of feel like I hate everyone and everything. It's not quite, but it's a bit of an exaggeration, but it's not far off the truth. I don't know. It's there's a lot of things to be happy about, a lot of things to be inspired by, and positive about in the world that we live in. Of course, just like any period of time, there's always something to be happy about, to smile, laugh about, and that's great and that's wonderful. But it's just sometimes it just feels like I don't know. It's a lonely world, man, out there. It's a lonely world. It's a world of competition and fierce debates and fierce differences of opinion, lifestyles, culture, society, and everyone's trying to basically not kill each other. Lead the, I guess, most productive, most practical, pragmatic lives that they think they can get in their limited time on Earth. So I think over the years, like I've realised that I wasted a lot of time with people, a lot of people that should never have had an inch of my time or energy. I should never have bothered with those people. And actually, really, sometimes I wish there were certain people that hadn't, kind of like, upon reflection, hadn't reached out to me in any capacity, because it's like everything is like life is a double-edged sword. People are a double-edged sword. It's complex. It's difficult because on the one hand there are great, advantageous traits that people have, and on the other end, you've got people's baggage to deal with as you become an adult, and as you get towards midlife, is people carrying a lot more baggage around, all sorts of fucked up messes, whether it's fucking failed relationships, damaged friendships, it's just sort of psychological, emotional scars that you've had to deal with, and like I said, things like bereavements, disappointments of people and situations, opportunities that didn't come to fruition. It's like we all, most of us who I think have tried to some extent to have a better life. I think most people try to do what they feel is the best thing to do at any given point, and in my case, that's what I think my life has been. Really, it's been a journey of, quite frankly, a lot of fuck ups, a lot of poor decisions, and being around essentially people that shouldn't have. I shouldn't have given people as many chances as I did, and that's certainly the case with relationships. But like I said, I'm no angel. I've made mistakes, as a friend, as a family member, as a partner. So, I'm not gonna sit here and try and play some kind of victimhood or something, because that's not who I am. But of course, like anybody else, yes, you do look at yourself in the mirror and you have to own up to your mistakes, but also, you do have to be honest and say that other people did play a part in in your life for a period of time, and unfortunately there were a lot of things that happened that weren't particularly pleasant, and I don't know. There comes a point where you kind of start reflecting on those things, and you realise that you wasted precious time and years of your life on people that didn't deserve you. I mean, maybe I didn't deserve them as well. While we're at it, and going back to the UK or England, and more specifically, one thing I don't miss really about the UK, and there are certain things I miss about it. It's not, I wouldn't say it certainly isn't. It's not the people as such. It's for me, what I miss about England is, this is not what this video is about, but we're going to get onto what it's about in a second. But what I miss about England, what the England that I used to know, was the way that the country used to look, the way it used to feel. The fact that I used to be younger then. The advertisements and things I've talked about before. Just the way things were back then, as opposed to now. But again, I don't. I'm not naive. I don't look back necessarily with complete rose-tinted glasses on my head. I'm not that. I'm not trying to romanticize the past or something, or whatever you want to call it. The past was a mixed bag of all sorts of things, like today is and the future will be. But I do miss. I miss certain faces I used to see around my city. I miss the way I used to feel when I used to go ride my bicycle around the city as a teenager. I miss seeing the council cutting the grass and just ridiculous kind of things to maybe to other people, but seeing buses going by in the winter and with the snow on the sides of the roads and things, and having a central heating in my bedroom, and my brother Christopher, we used to look out the window together and just chat away, for hours on end, basically about nothing, basically. But just you know, it's little, like I said before in a previous video, these little snapshots of my life. It wasn't so much of, it's more about how I used to feel, and my a place in time where I didn't feel so goddamn trapped and so, quite frankly, utterly fucking depressed a lot of the time. I'm just kind of, and quite frankly, just kind of a bit bored of everything and everybody and every just life in general, really. Just kind of just feel a bit over it all. It's like, it just doesn't like seem to mean anything to me that much these days. Like, you know, all the friends that I had, I don't talk to them anymore. They don't talk to me. I've tried repeatedly to reach out to them. They don't bother anymore. Or even if they do, it's a hi, how are you, blah blah, and you don't hear from them again for another few months or a year or whatever. So, you know, those friendships are gone, they're dead. It's like, they might as well just be acquaintances at this point. Like family members, okay, I talk to them, but it's not very regularly, apart from my young brother. That's it, really. So for me, life has become very lonely, and as well, to some extent, I probably did, maybe to some extent, probably brought it on myself. It's not maybe, is it? Let me just be honest. It's definitely, I brought some of it on myself. Some of it was just through time and the fact that people have gotten older and their lives have changed. They've got kids now to take care of. They've got busy lives with work and whatever. Part of it is they just can't be fucking bothered to reach out anymore. And I, quite frankly, can't be fucking bothered to put all the work in. So all of those fuckers can just basically go fuck themselves. I'm sorry to swear so much, but that's how I feel about these fuckers. And, you know, I really don't miss the UK that much, really. Apart from, I'd say really, maybe sometimes in the summer I miss it, and certain times especially in the autumn, the winter period, I think that's when I miss the UK the most, because I always felt at home in the UK during those periods of the year. I never really felt that, even spring, like, I mean, I liked spring because I always enjoyed smelling that first fresh, you know, the cut grass the very first time it's been cut in the spring. And seeing kind of like life, things kind of get back to life again, you know, just trees not being dormant, and you know, the trees budding and flowers opening up, and, you know, blah blah, obviously obvious things, common spring stuff. And seeing the bees flying around, and you know, the butterflies coming out and things like that. I do miss that aspect of England, the UK. I do miss sometimes people, but I think people have changed over there a lot in a lot of ways in the last few years. I think back 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, people had a bit more of a sense of humour and a bit more of a thick skin. People weren't such fucking, I'm sorry for swearing, such overly sensitive, woke, infested, sad excuses, pathetic people that a lot of people are now. I told you it was going to be serious. And I don't, you know, I don't miss the passive aggressiveness of people, and I say that as someone who has been passive aggressive, and sometimes am, but I'm more aware of it now, thanks to my ex. It constantly, you know, that was their go-to kind of arguments, why you're so defensive, why you're so passive aggressive, blah blah blah. Okay. Why? Well, because that's how I grew up. That's why. I don't know any better. I didn't know any better growing up. I don't know any other way of really dealing with things properly. So that was my way of dealing with stresses and problems and things that life threw at me. You know, arguments, whatever it might be. You know. And you know, and then of course you get all this. You always get the same thing of, oh, you're toxic, you're this, you're this. Well, you know what? Why don't you fucking take a look in the mirror and have a look at yourself, love? All right, because you're no fucking Pope either. All right, and you're certainly not oil painting either. You know, it's like I just find it funny that people want to get on the high horse and want to try and, you know, peg you down a few and trying to knock you down a few pegs, whatever this fucking saying is that I'm trying to think of. You know, people always trying to belittle you and put you down and take the piss and be sarcastic and passive aggressive. And like just the way that people respond to you in Messenger and things like this, like it's like I don't know what you're doing. I think I don't know. Do you think I haven't seen it all before? Do you think I haven't done it myself? It's like just reveals everything I need to know about your character and just everything about your attitude. And that tells me, quite frankly, that you should fuck off. You know, unfriend me, block me, whatever you want to do. Because quite frankly, these days, I really don't care what you do, what you think about me, say what you want, you know, gossip, because, you know, I'm sure that some people have. Some people probably do, from time to time, talk shit about you because, you know, it's like, it's just people are hypocrites, people are cowards. And just the more that I saw of people over the years, the more that and you could say, well, maybe you're just too sensitive to this. You know what? Yeah, maybe to some extent. Maybe I am my own worst enemy sometimes. But do you know what? Also, it actually kind of, in a way, it kind of did me a lot of good as well, because it saved me from having to deal with a lot of people's problems for any longer. Saved me from being introduced to certain people or getting to know people, certain people that I would have regretted knowing at a certain stage. So, you know, I think as well, but it's just an aspect of my personality. It's just my mediator, so apparently kind of like personality style. And I got tired of kind of being caught up in the middle of people's bullshit and petty dramas and whatever it is. I got tired of playing games with people, and then when you call it out, then they get all defensive and start getting pissy and start trying to mind fuck you and stuff like this. It's like, no, I caught you out. I caught you in the act. I saw what you was doing. I'm not a complete idiot. You thought I was, didn't you? You thought I was, but I'm not, and I wasn't then. I saw through you. I just didn't say anything. Not until I had to. So yeah, you know, a lot of just look. You can't stereotype. I guess well you can, but I mean maybe it's not fair to. You can't entirely generalize, but I'd say you know, there's a good chunk of people in that country that are very kind of petty, and there's a lot of great things about British, if you want to call it British, humour. You know, like things like if programs like Mock the Week, Have I Got News for You, Would I Lie to You, you know, like things like Harry Hill's TV Bet, for example. There's all sorts of different sort of types of comedy in the UK, and there's so many great things. Well, when it comes to shows and things like that, but when it actually comes to people in themselves and in their own little groups and things like that, then you start to see you kind of start to see how toxic people are, and people tend to I don't know. I just found that people there's an element of British humour that's very kind of, it's very kind of crass. It's kind of childlike to some extent. Sorry, I should have done that. There's an element of humour that's, at the expense of other people kind of thing, where it's not a joke. There's this thing of banter in the UK where, supposedly it's supposed to be a kind of like, like a character building thing, or like a team building kind of, light activity, or what I want to call it. But that maybe there's some truth to that. But there is certainly is also a case. It's also a case of just people taking the piss. Quite frankly, that's one of the things that's quite common in the UK, that people tend to take the piss out of just other people, or those that see as fallen victim to as prey, whatever you want to call it. There is this sort of sense of, it's weird. It's a country that's supposed to kind of represent the underdog and so forth. It's probably because of the aspect of working class struggles and so forth over the centuries, whatever. But there's also this sense of, there's a real sense of sort of real nastiness over there. There's a real, if I talk about the classist sort of element to Britain, it's quite common anyway. Most people know about that. But even among class, even in classes themselves, there's bitterness and resentment and divisions, and it's and football was supposed to kind of be a way of sort of dealing with tensions and problems, because nothing's perfect. No society's without its problems. But I just don't know. I just find that people, when you deal with people individually, I think it was I forget his name now, the American comic, can't think of his name now, but he said can't think of his name. My brain's fucked these days. He said, whoever the hell his name is, it's quite he died in 2008. Is it Carl something? Anyway, he said something like, people are fine. I think it was him who said it. People are fine when, paraphrasing here, but basically people are fine when they're on their own, but when they're in groups, become kind of intolerable kind of thing. And I think there is actually some truth to that. Like, you can kind of deal with people better when they're on their own. Like, but when people get together, there's all sorts of games going on, all sorts of compromises, and all sorts of psychological crap going on that people don't talk about, but it's going on. It's all there. It's all kind of hush hush, and you're also kind of just supposed to play along with it all, even if it's at your own expense, and you're the butt of the joke kind of thing. You're just supposed to kind of laugh it off, and it's, I don't know. Sometimes I kind of despise my own culture, if I'm being honest. Just in certain ways, there's things I don't like about it. I don't like about the people there. Just in general, really. Certain things I just don't miss. Don't miss the shitty weather. I don't miss the kind of boringness of city life a lot of the time, unless there's some kind of civic event going on, or festival or whatever. It's just kind of boring, and it's just the kind of like very kind of like outdated way of life. In some ways, I don't know. When I say that, I mean, I don't know. I've always kind of felt that England, the UK has had this kind of. I always had a bit of an identity crisis kind of thing, personality crisis. It doesn't really quite know what it is, but it does, but it doesn't. It's like what Al Murray, I think it was. He said like, you know, British, like we're ish kind of people. We're kind of we think we know what we are. We're not quite sure. We don't. What are we? What really are we? You know, it's like we say we're this and that, but I mean, are we really? You know, it's like what are we? What is our country? You know, it's like, and I did in the past make a video about my culture and things like that. So it's like, you know, I'm not trying to discredit what I'm not trying to go back on things I've said before. I'm just saying that, you know, there is this sense that we don't know we either don't know what we are, or we don't want to be what we are, or we want to be more of we want to be more like other people, but have our own kind. You know, I suppose you could say that Britain it's a country. Modernish Britain is a kind of mishmash of cultures, but we've kind of created an identity out of it. We kind of created, in a sense, kind of like molded something new out of it. You know, of course, you know, Britain. A lot of people in Britain alive today that look like me, their families go back centuries in the Isles of Britain, you know, so that you can't deny that Britain has never had it, you know, in recent centuries, any kind of, that it hasn't had its own people and identity, because it has, but it's changed. It's definitely changed. Like any country, some things stay, some things get tossed out the window, because of, you know, societal expectations, you know, attitudes change over time, and certain things become illegal, certain things get frowned upon, if some things become taboo. I don't know, sometimes I'm kind of glad that I'm not in that country anymore, but then I think what I'm trying to say is that I'm in a place in my life where I'm kind of caught between a rock and a hard place kind of thing. It's like, on the one hand, I'm in a country where the weather's a lot better, but now it's the complete opposite. It's the extreme of the UK. But that is nice, and I'm thankful to sometimes, you know, wake up and it's sunny and it's nice and it's hot, but you know, of course, like anything, that, you know, things wear off, and you know, over time, when it's, you know, 35 or 30 plus degrees out there, pretty much on a daily, it becomes, you don't appreciate it. And I think maybe that's the problem. I don't quite. I've been so stuck and so. In my life's kind of just been on hold, I guess, for the past few years, that I don't know what life's about anymore. Maybe I don't really know what it is to live anymore. I don't know what it is to be alive, kind of thing, because I haven't really properly lived my life to an real extent. You know, I've fucking eaten, you know, slept and done the basic things that, you know, needed for survival. But I mean, I haven't, apart from pursuing this degree, I mean, I haven't done anything really. I mean, I've travelled once in the past, over the past year, apart from like some local travel. But I mean, you know, apart from Taiwan, which was, what was it, a year and a half ago? Sorry, no, not a year and a half ago. Sorry, yeah, I think it was, wasn't it? Yeah, it was nearly a year and a half ago now, I think. You know, I haven't really been anywhere besides some local places in Thailand, and I haven't done any real international travel since before the pandemic. Since 2018. So that's 6 years. So, you know, it's for the better part of a decade. And quite frankly, I've really done fuck all of my life. I haven't done much with it. I haven't been anywhere really. I haven't achieved much. I haven't really. I suppose. I think that's the problem. I haven't kind of developed in any. I mean, apart from like maturity and certain things, but I mean, I haven't learned anything new. I haven't really done much, honestly. And you know, I'm not saying that you have to be achieving this and this every year or whatever. But it's not like that. But there comes a point where you start looking back and you think, you know, how long? I mean, and then you start looking to the future and you think, well, how long have I got? I mean, I've been around, you know, 34 years. I mean, am I gonna make another 34 years? You know, while I'm still young and relatively healthy, you know, and fairly sound mind, I guess, kind of. You know, I would like to kind of get out there and enjoy my life a bit. You know, and I see stuff on YouTube all the time, and you know, I just think to myself, that should be me doing that. That should be me there. I should be in that forest camping out. I should be on that boat in the middle of that island. I should be. But then you know, you look in the mirror and you say, well, okay, but what have you done to get it? Do you think that you deserve that opportunity, that life? And you think, well, do those people deserve it? I mean, what do you mean by deserve? Do those people that are born into wealth deserve to have that money and those assets and things? Depends what your definition of deserve is. You know, do I deserve the life that I have? Maybe I do. Maybe I don't. I don't know. Do other people deserve the lives they have? I don't know. Maybe not. But people say, you know, people often say you get the life you deserve. You know, you get the government you deserve. You know, that life kind of reveals itself on your face at a certain point, and maybe it does on mine, perhaps. Especially when I'm tired and I haven't been eating right for the past few years. I haven't been exercising, look like an absolute dog turd. I'm going to finish this video very shortly because it's over 42 minutes now. This wasn't meant to go on this long. But I think my YouTube channel, a bit like my Facebook really, is my digital diary. I don't keep a journal or anything like that because I'm lazy, I guess, which is another problem, probably why I have the life that I have in certain ways. I'm not like lazy in the sense I don't want to do anything, but just, you know, we all have bouts of laziness. We all have just things that we're just not particularly very interested in, or we have no interest in at all, and journaling's not one of those things, among other things. But then, you know, sometimes I do think, you know, I do get jealous and a bit envious of people, because I sometimes think to myself, you know, that should be me. I should be getting on that plane. That should be me with that money in my bank account. That should be me. And then I just think, well, maybe it should, but it's not, is it? It's not. That's not who you are, is it? That's not your situation. This is your situation. With not very much money in the bank, no children, not really achieved much. You know, you've been in Thailand, not far off 10 years. You've taught a handful of schools. None of them really worked out, partly because of me, but partly because of just, well, I didn't have the qualifications when I first came here. And the agency that I worked for was just saw me as, you know, obviously I clearly had a tattoo of mug clearly stamped on my forehead. Just people, and you could say, well, it's your attitude, David, it's this. You know what, maybe you're right. Maybe it is. But I won't let I'm not going to stand for people trying to put me in a box, trying to control me, trying to manipulate me, because that's not who I am, and I won't stand for it. I'm my own person, and I will lead the life that I think, even with all the problems that come with it, is the best thing for me. And unfortunately, that brings with it problems. That brings with it loneliness. That brings with it a lack of money. That brings with it a lack of friends. But I made certain choices, and I have to live with them. I have to get up every morning, look in that mirror and say, look, this is where you are because of this, and this. And only you can change it. And that's what I'm trying to do now, slowly but surely. I'll be back into a full-time job soon. But it's not just about the basic thing, the basic needs of life in the modern era. It's more deeper than that. It's a deep sense of yearning and hope and trying to cling on to some kind of like optimism and some brightness in life, and sometimes it's hard to find it and cling on to it. And I just find that I find people very, very, very difficult to tolerate. And I'm sure that that's the same from the other end of, from other people's perspective about me. So, you've got to admit that you've got to own up to your own mistakes. And, it's hard out there. It's a hard life. It is a hard life. It's hard for everybody. Everyone's going through, no end of crap with other people, and just life taking its toll on people over time. Your body's starting to change. You're just starting to get. It's like I think the brightness of life kind of starts wearing off at a certain point. I think that's why I feel like I am now. Like there's not much colour to life these days, apart from a few maybe just 15 years of overstimulation of social media has probably done that to me, perhaps. But I definitely need a change in my life, and I'm kind of glad in some ways that certain people have kind of fucked off out my life now, because I wouldn't want them around at this juncture. I'm glad that they're fucked off as well. And, for all those people on Facebook that are not interested in being, not having any kind of communication with you anymore, you're more than happy, you're more than welcome to go and fuck off as well. You're more than happy to block me, unfriend me, whatever. Do one if you want. Because I just don't really give a shit. I don't care about you, alright? I don't care about your kids. I don't care about your fucking family. I don't give a shit. I'm not doing all the work. I'm not going to reach out. I'm not going to continually reach out to people. Why should it all be about me? Why should it all be me having to do all the work and reaching out to people? I'm not playing that game anymore. People don't want to talk to me. Fine. No problem. See you later. Take care. Have a good life. But don't say I didn't try. I fucking did. You didn't. By you whoever, if they ever watch this video, you know what I'm talking about. I tried many, many times over the years to reach out to people. They weren't interested. Or even if they did message me, it was a very brief thing. It was like basically just trying to like get it over and done with kind of thing. It's just like, well, this is pathetic. It's like, why even bother? Why even bother? Seriously, just don't bother. If you just can't be fucking bothered, then it's like, just don't bother. I feel that the people in England, a lot of people are so stuck up their own asses. They're so full of their own ego. They're so are in such a good position in many respects compared to people in a lot of parts of the world. They don't realise, of course I'm not saying it's perfect, nothing is, but sometimes I just can't, I can understand why people have the kind of resentment towards a lot of British people. I get it now. And you know what? You can call me a whinger, a moaner, a fucking blah, blah, blah. I'm just real with people. I'm just honest and I'm real. And I'm not gonna apologise for it ever. This is me, this is who I am. And you either accept me or you fuck off. That's it. That's all I've got to say about that. I'm not going to change my ways to suit you. Why should I? I can't anyway. I've tried it. It's not going to happen. Of all my flaws, of all my problems, all my weaknesses, and there are many, I admit that. But do you know what? At least I try to be real. At least I try to be honest and open with people. You know what that gets you? Disrespect. People seeing you as vulnerable, trying to take advantage. People treating you like an idiot. Well, those days are gone. I won't let anybody demean me, to try and belittle me or, try and mould me to something that suits their needs or whatever. It's not fucking happening. It's never happening. Never again will I allow anybody to try and fit me into a nice little hole, nice little box that's comfortable for them. Never. Never again. Never again. And anybody, whoever tries to disrespect me ever again, will never hear from me ever again. Those days are well and truly over. So I am disappointed with people and life in general. Disappointed in myself. Because you just can't have expectations upon people at a certain point. You just can't. People will let you down and people will make excuses, people will lie. And, you try to be forgiving, you try to, maybe I can't be too harsh for this. But there comes a point where you just say, look, you're just fucking taking the piss now. You're taking the piss, you're disrespecting me, and I have more respect for myself than to allow someone to do that to me. And you should have more respect for yourself as well. I'm 34 years old now. I'm done with the playing silly games. I'm done with the drama. I'm done with the petty point scoring crap and, childish, immature fucking humour and pathetic, ridiculous ways of basically trying to tell me to fuck off or this or whatever it might be. All those people, they can all fuck off. Never again. Never again.